Welcome back, CSE 121, W1, Spring 23, to our Exercise 27, our Attendees Tkinter, and then we'll do a CSV file, but we'll start off with our Tkinter interface, where we'll use some entry fields to actually take data. So I'm going to create this from scratch. So I'm going to create a new repel, and for my template, I'm going to use Tkinter, so just type in TK. It doesn't use Python. It is Python, but it uses Tkinter as the name. And then over here, we can just call it 27-attendees. And you could put TK if you want. And I'll put my initials, RH. So that's mine that I'm working on right now. So let's get started. And I'm going to close up Ghostwriter. Now, I think it does give you some of this stuff here, but I'm not going to use this right now. And let's just get rid of this right now. And do it the way I'm used to doing it. We'll do from Tkinter import all. And I'm just going to copy this. And be careful with when you do this, if you ever copy something from a PDF, that it does okay with the quotes, that it doesn't use smart quotes. So from TK import all, M equals TK, we have our title. We're configuring a background color. We're doing our geometry. And starting position, this was code I put in there. That would actually be, if you needed to highlight that and do command / you could put that as a comment indicating what this is. So that's our geometry. That's what we're starting at 500, 200. So, and then we'll get rid of this because that's just another comment there. And this will be at the end. So this is how it's going to start. And let's just see what we have so far. And that's okay. So we have kind of a starting interface here, and we'll start building on this. Tkinter attendee list. We have our padding that's around here. Now we don't have anything in here, so we're going to start putting in our labels. Over here, if you want to go make a file, we can make an attendees.csv, and you can go inside it, and you can just put first, comma, last. And we'll get to that later, but at least that's done. So you don't have to do that now. So we're ready to roll, I think. And again, the first thing we're going to do with this is we're going to create our interface. So we're going to go up and look at some of this stuff. Now we could change these. Now we're going to make a grid. Now we don't make a grid first. We actually put in all our labels and entry fields. Again, these are just labels that'll be kind of the same background color. The buttons, we could use the default color unless we need to change it so it stands out. And in terms of widgets, these are labels, these are entries, and these are buttons with capital B, capital E, and capital L for labels. So let's get started. We'll call it, we'll try to be a little more descriptive as we go through here. So let's start making labels, and I'll just put # labels, and I'll put entry, because that's where we're first starting to put this. So I'll put entry labels to start. And our entry labels are going to be, first of all, we give it a name. What do we want to call it? I'll go first name _ lab. Call it that, first name lab. That's for label. And you could even call it label if you want, if we're going that far. But we'll just use lab for now. And we'll equals, and it's a label. And in parentheses, we're going to make it M. Instead of doing root, we're going to do M. And we just do commas in here. And I'm not sure about background color yet, but we'll put in text and see what that looks like. So let's just put in some text, equals, and we'll put first. And then we'll copy that, and I'll put last name lab, and that's a label, and the text will say last. Okay, and we could do the fields right away. So maybe I'll copy this whole thing. And entry fields. And maybe I'll do first name ENT and last name ENT, because that's where we're going to enter them. And these won't be labels. These will be entry. And this will be entry. See, oh, it comes up. Okay, M, and we're not going to have any text in there, but we can put in a size. So remember, we can do font, and in parentheses, we could first put none, and then we could put like a size, and we'll do like 16, kind of like a web size. And then we'll do the same thing here. And again, we'll take a look at this and just see what's going on. Let's see, font, yeah, that's the closing parentheses here. So we'll put this whole font statement right in here. And so first name label, last name label, first name entry, last name entry. Okay, so now we have to set it up with a grid. So what are we going to do? And we'll kind of do something here. It'll go down further, but we'll put grid layout. This is where our grid layout will go. So if you remember how to do that, we actually will put this, copy this, copy this. We'll do all 4 of these to start, and we'll lay them out. So our entries and our labels, will lay them out. And remember, they use .grid. .grid. There's grid. Doesn't put the parentheses. So that's how we're going to lay them out. Now, we don't have them laid out yet because we didn't specify any columns or rows or anything. But the first label, again, if we look at this, is going to be row 0 and column 0. And this one is going to be row 1, column 0. And this is going to be row 0, column 1. And this will be row 1, column 1. Okay, so that's how we're setting these up so far. So let's see if we can put that in there. So the first name label is going to be row. And how did they do that? Let's look at some of this stuff here. There we go. Here's some of the stuff right here. Row equals. So they don't do it with any quotes. And we'll set that up. Row equals 0. And then the first name entry is also row equals 0. And did they use commas? Yes, they do. So we have to do commas here. And then we'll do column equals, the first one is 0. And then the next one is column equals 1. So I'll do comma, column equals 1. And then for the last name one, that's basically going to be, I'll copy this whole thing and put it in here. That's going to be row equals 1. That's the next row down. And column equals 0. And then the next one is going to be row equals 1 and column equals 1. So we have everything. That's going to be the top 4 up there. Now we didn't do any of that sticky stuff, anything like that. We didn't do background colors, but let's just see what this looks like. So we're going to run it and just see what we have going on so far. Okay, this is what we have here. And you can see this is kind of small. So we may want this a little bit bigger for our label. And the background color is kind of a default gray, so we may want to change that. And we may want to change the size a little bit. Now we can put, they have sticky that we used in the past where it was sticky west. I don't know if we necessarily need that here, but maybe we can make this a little bit bigger or even put some padding on the label here. Now what we could do for padding is, that would be padding up and down. So let's do a couple things here. Let's go to our label, and like I said, we didn't do anything here, so let's do comma, and let's do font equals. We'll make it a little bigger, and I think we can change the width too, but let's do font equals, and we'll just do none, and let's do 14. We don't need it as big as what we're filling in there, so let's try that. I'm going to close this up so we have a little room over here. Let me make sure I have the quote there. Get rid of that, and I'm going to copy that, and I'll put it here, and I'll put my comma, and we'll see what that looks like so far. Oh, here it is over here. There we go. That's not too bad. Now we could do a little padding around here and change the background color, and let's see if we could even do like a width equals 8. I forget what we did on the other one, if we had something like width. Let me just try this. I forget if it was width. That actually looks a little bit better. Width equals 8. That'll work. We'll try that. Width equals 8. Again, I don't use this every day, so I'm trying to remember from like 3 years ago. And I'm trying to do new things too. I'm not trying to just look at old code or anything like that. Now, that can be the same background color if we want, so it blends in with our regular window. Let's run this like that. Not sure why it's going over there. Or we could leave it like that for now, but we could certainly change the background color and highlight this. This is kind of that pale background color that's there. But we could leave it like that for now. That doesn't look too bad. We can even change the width. I don't know if we need a sticky. Let me try width 10. Let's see what that looks like. And let's try a sticky west for this thing. We'll do a comma and put sticky equals west. And see if that helps anything with our labels. Okay, that's better. I don't know why. It looks like it was starting down there. I don't need it to start down there. That might have been something else when I was using a different IDE. So I don't need this. I don't need a starting position. It could start in the upper left. That looks fine. Now, it doesn't look like sticky did anything here. It's still kind of centered in there when we do width. It doesn't look like sticky W, if I'm doing it right. Sticky equals W. Yeah, I'm doing it right. I'll leave this for now. We could always put a background color in if you want. I'll leave that for now. And now that we have our two labels, what do we got next? We could just put an empty label here for break, and then we could put two buttons. So let's try to do that quick. Let's put an empty label, and I'm just going to make a thing called spacers. And then we can do sp_lab equals label, and we can do bg equals, and we can copy the same as this, copy this thing, and put it in here. And remember, it needs the m comma. It's part of root. And I'll call it spacing label 1 because we have how many? We're going to have 3. 1, 2, 3. I'll just call it spacing. I'll call it spacing label 1. We'll put it right after here where it actually goes. Dot grid. And we could do row 3, or actually 2, 0, 1, 2, and then put comma column span equals 2. It'll go through both, and it already has the background color, and that means we won't see it right now. Actually, let's just see what happens. We can't really see it here, so we got to wait until we put something else. So let's put two buttons, and it looks like these things will be sticky west and sticky east. We have an add another and an insert button. So let's make some buttons, and we'll have add, I'll just call it add another btn. Why not? Or how about AA? Add another button equals button, and then m comma, and text equals, that's this one, and then an insert button. And now that we have these, we're going to put them into our grid. So I'll just copy these and put them down here as part of our layout, and we can get rid of this and just put grid, and then put grid, and this is going to be row 3, column 0, and then column 1. So let's just copy this stuff. So it'll be row 3, and it'll be column 0, and sticky west, and this one will be row 3, column 1, and sticky east. And let's just see what they look like by default. And grid is not defined. Oh, what am I doing here? I put equals. Why didn't you say something when you told me to do that? All right, so these look a little small, so I'll try to make them the same size as this. So I'll use this font none equals 14, and I'll make the, I guess, buttons look kind of like the labels. So that will be in here. And let's just see if that looks any better. That's okay. I mean, this is looking okay. You could make it a little smaller, but that's not too bad. Now, they look like buttons. We can change the background color here. I forget how I made it align to the left, to be honest. because Sticky West isn't really working for that unless Sticky West, no, that's right. Unless I just never noticed it because of the background color. Now we could put the background color here. We could copy that. And for these, we could put them in here, comma, comma. Now that's wrapping, so let's try it again. All right, that looks okay. We can put a little padding on one of these. I think I used padding on these fields to get them to move a little bit so they're not right on each other, but not a big deal. So let's go to these entry fields and let's put pad Y equals, let's just do like 4 and see what happens. Not sure what I did wrong there. Let me just try something. Let me cut it and put it in the labels. Maybe it can't be on an entry field. I'm not sure what's wrong, but I'll just try this first. That seems to work there. So maybe it doesn't work on the fields. It only works on there. So pad Y, let me make it a little more, 6. And that looks okay. Buttons look a little big here. Maybe I could go to 12 with the buttons. They seem a little bit big. All right, yeah, they look a little bit better. So let's see what we have here. We have 2 entry fields, we have the 2 buttons. So all we have to have here are 2 more spacers, 1 large entry field, and an attendee. So let's do that in our next part, which will be part 3. And I hope you're having fun. This stuff is a lot of fun here. Putting this, it's very antiquated the way we're doing it, and again, it's not something where you're really familiar with the Tkinter, the way of doing things, so it takes a little, but you know, hey, we're getting to use an interface, you know. It'd be a lot easier if we were doing HTML and CSS and stuff like that. I know that stuff, but this I'm not that familiar with, so it takes me a little while to get to learn about it, but it's good for your brain, good brain practice. So we'll see you back part 3. We'll finish this up, and then we'll continue with some code to actually make this thing work.